because I don't write these stuff.
Started for the sake of time. It looks like we have a pretty good attendee list here today. Thank you everyone for joining here. So my name is Philip Black. I am with TechD. We are an IBM Premier Business Partner, and we pretty much focus on everything data. Today we're partnering with IBM, and we're going to be showcasing our latest solution called Watson Knowledge Catalog. With me today I have Emma Tucker, who is Offering Manager for Watson Knowledge Catalog. So the reason that we really wanted to get together here today is to showcase some of the capabilities, features, and functions of WKC. WKC was ranked leader for machine learning catalogs by Forrester. So here today, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the catalog at a high level, and we're also going to jump into a deep dive demo as well. So we're going to record today's session. If you guys could hold your questions to the end, what we're going to do is we'll unmute the line, and we'll have sort of an interactive session after we go through the technology itself. So thank you everyone for joining so much today. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Emma.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
We're good? Okay. Hi, everybody. Like you said, I'm Emma Tucker. I'm an offering manager, aka a product manager on Watson Knowledge Catalog within IBM. I've been on the team for a bit over a year and focusing a lot on the data governance portions, but then also moving into the artificial intelligence parts. So I'm going to start today just giving a high level what's data ops, which is a new concept that we're introducing, what's Watson Knowledge Catalog, and then I'm going to show a demo. I'm going to spend most of my time showing the demo because I find presentations pretty boring, and it's better to just dive into the tool, and then we can talk a little bit about the roadmap, and hopefully we'll have plenty of time for questions. Feel free to ask them while I'm presenting as well. I don't really mind getting interrupted. All right, to start, I'm going to actually start with a story. And I have a picture of my friend Virginia, who I lived with when I was in college. And the thing about living with Virginia was, it was a lot of fun, but I noticed that sometimes I couldn't find utensils. So by the end of the time living with her, I noticed that I could really only set a place setting for 2 people at a time. Then I'd have to wash everything and come back. And I thought to myself, what's going on? Why is this the case? And then I remembered that Virginia likes to eat while doing her homework in her room, and that would be fine if her room didn't look like this. So alas, I couldn't find the utensils, and it was stuck here. I couldn't find anything. It was coming out of her room. And I've noticed that a lot of customers, this is kind of what their data looks like. They can't find the tools that they need in order to get the job done. And it does take a lot of effort to organize and put things away so that you can, trust the tools you use or the data that you find, so that you can actually trust the steak knife that I found on her floor, that it's clean, but then also be able to find it and let your data consumers actually build something useful with it. We found that most enterprises want to invest in artificial intelligence and advanced analytics, but really 64% of them are still here where they're collecting data, but they're not quite organizing it and delivering it to the business. Virginia didn't stop buying new clothes just because her floor was dirty, but it definitely made the situation worse when she did. Therefore, we say that before you can do artificial intelligence or advanced analytics, you must have infrastructure. You must have that set up so that you can organize and that you can understand your data, know your data, trust your data before you can then use your data. Data scientists, they have spent about, according to the research, 80% of their time. I think it's exactly 81%, so don't think that we just applied the 80-20 rule here like I tend to do often as a product manager. But 80% of their time is spent prepping the data because it takes forever to find it, trust it, so assess its quality, clean the data, and then finally be able to do the valuable work and have and see a proper ROI from that data. I also, in talking to many companies, it sounds like most of the models that their very expensive data scientists produce are thrown out because it's maybe using data that wasn't high enough quality, or data didn't follow the proper privacy regulations either. And so the risk officer didn't sign off on it, or it's not properly governed or something like that. And that therefore they just couldn't use the model that they had spent so long building, even after searching through all the data, piles of data. So we've introduced a concept at IBM called data ops. It's kind of like DevOps in that it's meant to be agile. So it's about a agile process of setting up your data. It's about setting up the right people around those processes and then having proper tools. This isn't new. We know that we have to have people, processes, and tools in order to be successful. But the idea is that we can build something that can be quick and more agile and as automated as possible, driven by machine learning. And so when you do that, then you can create and deliver business-ready data foundation. So at IBM, within data ops, we are looking to implement a lot of these services. And so the idea is that you first need the foundation of your data governance program. So that includes data lineage to understand. You want to collect metadata so you know where your data has been, how it's taken its journey through all of your data sources and applications and popped up in whatever reports you're using. You need to address set up policies and rules. So, and not only do you need policies to say, okay, we have a know your customer policy, or a policy around what to do with sensitive information, or a PII, but then underneath that, how can we automate it? And so we offer 3 different types of rules. And so data protection rules is a way to automate your privacy rules that you have under your policy, and data quality rules that will assess the quality of your data per whatever if-then statement you come up with. And that's also automatic, as well as what we call automation rules that will find data and attach your policy or your governance role to it, so you know exactly what needs to be forced on the data set. And so we're trying to make that process a lot quicker for data governance teams and data stewards. On top of it, and I'm going to just point out, is business glossary management. You want to establish a consistent language across your entire organization, so you know what everybody else means when they say this is customer name. Okay, does that mean that it comes with first name, optional middle name, or middle initial and last name? Is it just first name? Is it just first initial and last name? What's it look like? What do we mean by customer name? And then where can I find it too? So that when I see column with a very technical name, NM_123, that actually is person name. So it's really important to be able to not only have that consistent language, but then use that to put data in context of your consistent language. And then I went over a few of these, but then on top of that are that now you have to find all your data, catalog it, and then surface it for your data consumers. So what that means is that, I mean, you don't know the data that you don't know about. So that's where discovery is incredibly important in automating and using machine learning to actually populate your catalog and figure out what all the data is across your organization. So it's really hard to discover everything. So instead of having to say, okay, I want this specific table that's in this specific data source, you can just point to a data source and automatically discover all of the schemas and tables and columns that exist in that source or application. Then once we do that, we can automatically classify the data and say, okay, it looks like this has social security number in it. Therefore, this is PII. And therefore, this also maps to your business term, social security number, so that we can make the process of curating your catalog a lot quicker. Then we run an analysis based off your data quality rules and other key indicators that we have in order to properly assess, is this data trustworthy? But once you do all of that, then it is ready in order to add to your catalog. Because once it's in your catalog, your data consumers can now go and search for it and understand it and talk about it and use a data prep solution to cleanse it further, specifically for their analytics project. So all of this is important in establishing not only, well, creating business ready data, but then also delivering it to your users. And this is what we mean by data ops, is all of these make up the operations necessary in order to build that foundation. Okay. And what we've done in order to implement the data ops is also we've brought together 4 different areas that you might typically find to be separate. That would be data integration, data quality, data governance, and data consumption. According to research, and especially as promoted by the Gartner Group, it's really difficult to properly build and deliver business-ready data if you do not combine all 4 of these concepts into one unified experience. Because otherwise you'll have data quality, but then your data consumers can't find it, can't see it. And if it's not a unified solution where you have to create manual integrations, you might be missing something and it's not going to work together. And the same with data governance. Your metadata, your business glossary needs to be available across the entire platform. So as you assess quality, you can do it based off of those business terms. And when you consume the data, you understand it based off of that business glossary. So really the power of data ops is in combining all 4 of these capabilities into one unified experience where each of the persona can come and see similar information, but displayed to be persona specific. So to dive into more detail, you have your base of integration, quality, governance, and consumption that then will enable the AI lifecycle that we all are trying to get to, but only, let me quickly do math, 37% of companies are actually at that point where they can create proper AI that won't be thrown away. So at IBM, for data integration, we have a solution called Data Stage, also available on Cloud Pak for Data. Then we have Watson Knowledge Catalog, which is new because it's not a new solution. We've had Watson Knowledge Catalog for a while, but actually we've had three solutions that each offer separately data quality, data governance, and data consumption. And we are the only offering in the market to truly bring it into one unified, completely connected experience that all of your personas can come to the same place, but see their own version of how to go about using the tool. And those personas might be your data engineer who's creating the jobs, your data quality analyst who's trying to understand and monitor the data, a data governance team, so your data stewards who are determining ownership and lineage and classifying information, a team that might be managing your reference data, and then all the way up to finally your data citizens who are just trying to search and find proper data for their project that won't be thrown away later after they do all their work. So what's new is we have this unified end-to-end experience. And I say what's new, many of you might not know what Watson Knowledge Catalog actually is, but Watson Knowledge Catalog, and we're about to release a huge new version of Watson Knowledge Catalog in Cloud Pak for Data, and it will be this quarter. So we're combining all 3 of those areas together. That used to be separate offerings, and now it's all one under Watson Knowledge Catalog. We're adding in workflow. So that is something that's new to Watson Knowledge Catalog. Before you can set up any governance program, you need to set up your people and your processes. As we said before, that's important for your data, for a data ops solution. So with workflow, you can establish a workflow based off of parts of your governance platform, and then align a RACI matrix to that as well. We've updated screens to make it more user-friendly to define and build your business and technical metadata. And we have added in reference data management, because when managing your reference data, we think it's important to do it in the context, again, of data quality, data governance, and data consumption. Data quality is so that you can create a rule and better understand our applications using the centrally managed reference data set, are they consistent? And then find any inconsistencies there. And then also be able to, so you do the quality piece and then put your data assets in context of the reference data management so that a data scientist can now go see, okay, I see this code, it's like 123 and it's country code. What does that mean? Oh, that maps to this country right over here, and you can join the tables easier. Okay, so now I will start the demo for you all. It looks like maybe there's a question or something, so I won't read it here, I'll keep going, but Phil, please stop me if there's a question in the chat that you think I should address now.
Sure, and actually I don't see any open questions as of now. It could have just been a chat.
Okay, great. Okay, welcome to Watson Knowledge Catalog. This is our first view into our Cloud Pak for Data platform, but really we've loaded just Watson Knowledge Catalog on this. And so it's a place where I can go and I can search for anything that I need. I will also find some actionable cards to where I'm an admin, so I'm going to see everything, but maybe there are terms and I can see the progress of us going toward assigning all of our terms to critical data elements. It looks like just now actually one decreased from somebody else using it. You can get a better picture of your policies and what's been enforced over time as well. So I'm going to start this, and the way that I like to demo is to do it in 3 different phases, because we are creating these persona-specific experiences based off of those 3 different areas. So first I'll show off what it's like as the person part of the data governance office or the chief data office who is setting up our data governance program. Maybe it's new, so I have to start with policy or role, or start with the business glossary. So if I go over here and I'll bring this back, all of our Watson Knowledge Catalog capabilities are under Organize, and this maps to our AI ladder where we say, you have to collect your data, you then have to organize your data, analyze it, and then finally you can actually infuse your AI models into your applications.
Yeah, not to interrupt, Emma, I just want to clarify something for the folks on the line, is that within Watson Knowledge Catalog, Emma is basically going into this as a specific persona. So we talked about some of the personas before, whether you're a data steward, you're an admin, you're a data scientist, or you're a business analyst. So what we've done is created different experiences for each of those personas from a UI perspective and capability.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I will be showing this from the admin perspective because that's what I'm logged in on, but I'll explain a little bit about the capabilities that are there for each persona. So under here, you'll notice we have what we call governance artifacts, and I won't go into each and every one of them, but these include business terms that are part of your business glossary to create your business metadata, classifications, a way to kind of tag your data and say this is PII or this is sensitive information. Data classes are built for profiling, automatically profiling your data.
Emma, we do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lemming. Brad, can you unmute Lemming so he can speak, potentially?
Unfortunately, it's not letting me. Give me 1 second.
Okay. And if we can't, that's fine. We'll unmute everyone sort of at the end of this and open it up.
Okay, should be open, Leming, if you would like to ask a question.
Can you hear us, Lemming? Can you speak? No, I guess not. Okay, for the sake of time, we'll just keep moving here and go back on mute. Sorry about that, Emma.
Okay, that's okay. So we also have policies and rules, but let's just dive into a category. There you go, I got muted. So a category is kind of like a folder where you can add all of these governance artifacts together to categorize it and organize these governance artifacts. So you might have a specific folder set up for finance, or maybe you have a specific folder set up for GDPR or whatever you're doing. But here I'm going to dive into customer information. So I'm pretending I'm part of the data governance team, or I'm a data steward, and I'm making sure that all of our metadata about customers is in order. And so I see a bunch of business terms related to identifying customers, customer identifier, and then I'll show you this person name. Okay, you can see a description of person name, what category is part of. Again, we just came from customer information, so that's not new. We also support custom attributes. So say you have one person who's a data steward, but then you also have a role of a data owner, and you want to mark where the department is, so that you can create these custom attributes that you can set up for this business term, or really any of the governance artifacts. You can see how it relates to other business terms. So person name is part of customer identifiers. It also includes first name and last name, as well as synonyms. So maybe in the past or in the future, we're going to use given name, which then could mean that we have a business and start and end date. So person name, perhaps we're phasing it out and we want to use given name later as the common term across our organization. So we can say at the end of the year, person name is going to become inactive, and then we can make given name and add that into the hierarchies and be part of it. Classification, so you can actually add a classification to anything on Watson Knowledge Catalog. You can use it as like a governed way of tagging stuff, and I'll go into it, or as finding PII. Tags is another way. They're what we call ungoverned, as in anybody can create a tag and can say anything. So it's really more of your data consumers who maybe want to tag things. Okay, and I also want to show you that you can see what relates to person name. So if I look at person name, I can now see the synonym of given name to it, but then I can also see that there are two columns that relate to person name. So I can now find all of the data that includes person name, or at least that a data steward has gone through and assigned this business term to it. All right, go back, and then I mentioned classification. So a classification, we come out of the box with sensitive personal information, personally identifiable information, and confidential. You can apply these to any of the data or those governance artifacts. And I'll go an example of maybe if you want to create a custom one. So at IBM, we use the classification of crown jewels to say that this data set fits crown jewels. So you'll be able to create that and classify all of your data that's crown jewels, and then find it all through that relationship graph. Data classes are, we have over 160 out of the box data classes, and these are meant for automatically profiling your data and classifying it. We talked about that as part of data ops and where we infuse machine learning and automation. And so that is here, where you can use one of our 160 data classes, or you can create your own, and you can create your own based off of just a list of values, a reference data set, Java code, or you can match two column names, or you can create a regular expression for that. All right, and I'll actually skip over to policies and rules before I go to reference data, because this is where I'll give an example.
And I'm gonna jump in, Emma. We did have a question from Lemming. So he actually, or their organization, is utilizing Information Server Enterprise Edition now. So they're actually using all the tools under the covers there. He had a question around enterprise search. Is enterprise search being used for this demo?
The enterprise search is a little bit different. So we do have a global search here that I will show you when we get to the data consumer part. And then also what I shared, the relationship graph is part of Information Server Enterprise Edition as well, that came in with 11.7.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So a policy could be something like what you're doing around GDPR, or it can be sensitive information. So you can establish your processes and describe your RACI matrix here and what it entails. But then you can also have any sub-policies, like, for example, protecting that sensitive data, and describe rules. So in this case, a part of this policy is a control where we have to ensure we protect the PII data. Like I said, you can automate those rules now. So using data protection rules, we can have a rule like mass social security number. And this is an if-then statement of if we profile, or if the metadata on a column or an asset is this, then we want to mask that column or even completely deny access to the asset to specific people. So a lot of different ways that you can control access and build out your help comply with your data privacy like regulations. And again, this is automatically applied as soon as the data asset is published to the catalog, so you don't have to worry about having any gaps. Okay, and going back, I'll show reference data and a little bit of the workflow on top of it. So say, and then I like to use the example, I live in Texas right now, and Texas is always talking about leaving the United States. You know, our roots are, we came in as our own country and separated from Mexico. So let's pretend that that's actually happening, and it's just as easy as taking it off of this reference data set. So I can click on Texas, and I can remove that from this reference data set. And again, you can see that we have a code and a value for the reference data, business terms associated to it, all the same things that you see with the business terms. But I wanted to show the editing of the reference data set in order to show workflow. On this, we have a one approval workflow right here. So this means I can send it for approval, and now that it's in draft, I can make some edits. So for example, maybe I want to change the description, or Jay left the company, I need to take him off as data steward. Here I will send for approval, Texas left, send for approval, and then someone will get a notification to approve it. Guess what? I am an approver because I put myself as admin, but let's go here and show you how you can change that. So management, governance workflows. Okay, so here you'll see we have a default workflow configuration for everything, which will be automatically published. But in this case, I have created a specific workflow for reference data. And you can have one approver or two approver steps. Plus you can have a reviewer step and publishing step if you'd like. So when I said that we mapped the RACI matrix to the processes, it's because you can define exactly who can author, who can approve, who can publish and review within this single experience. So I am listed as an author, and then if we go over to approvals, I'm also listed as one here. You can decide who gets notifications, whether they get notifications and when, as well as who can review if they get notifications. And then finally, you can actually just automatically publish after your one or two approvals, or you can set it up to where there's an actual publisher as well and assign that to a person. So I'm an approver, and we just submitted a change to that reference data set. So I would go in and I see that I can now approve this set within the tool. There we go. And now that I've clicked approve, that means that it will be published in our reference data set. So if we go back here, then we should see that there are 49 states instead of 50 because Texas left. Okay, so that's the end of my phase as a data governance person or a data steward, however you call them within your organization. I've set up my policies and rules. I've built my business glossary. I even have reference data sets and data classes for automatically profiling and classifications for understanding the data. So now is when I will want to move into finding my data and curating it to add to that catalog. But I want to stop here to make sure that there are no pending questions about that area before I move on.
Nope, I think we are in the clear.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're moving into pretend I just changed. So now I am our data quality analyst or a data steward who's curating the catalog. So I would go into data discovery. And like I said before, you don't know what you don't know about your data. So you will want to use discovery in order to find everything that's in a source, because you might not be able to target a specific set, and then you might be missing some other things that you would actually want to add to the catalog. We have two options. There's quick scan, and then there's automated discovery. Quick scan will take a sample of your data and is actually extremely fast. Within less than a minute, you can look at multiple tables and understand based off the sample. You can classify and figure out what data classes apply to it, have a gist for what the quality of the data, and you can even get term suggestions. But for this purpose, let's pretend we're doing a full in-depth analysis of the entire data assets. This is a lot slower, but it is helpful to run quick scan first, get a feel for the data, and then when you see that something might have huge problems or a lot of PII, then you would run the full discovery and get a full analysis of that data. So let's pretend we're going into here. This notification is just because somebody else must be running a job and we have a smaller instance here. But I can select a connection. So say I'm going to go, I have data in DB2. And here's now where I can discover everything that's in our DB2 instance. So let's pretend I'm working on populating information for auto insurance. So I can select everything, or I can just select what's within the auto insurance schema. And then here are the tables underneath. So I'm going to select that. I can choose what exactly I want to analyze. This will, if I choose less, then it will save time. But if I want everything, then it will be a lot more time intensive. And then I can send it to a data quality workspace. Similar to cooking videos, guess what? I already have this workspace set up, especially since the deep data discovery can take a long time. So let's go into data quality. And now we have quite a few workspaces here. Now I can go into the auto insurance data analysis workspace I had showed before. So this has all of the auto insurance data that I want to add to the catalog for our specific project. I can see high level about the quality of the data, relationships that we found of primary keys, overlappings between the data. But then I can actually drill down into each of the individual data sets. Most of these actually look quite clean, but insurance driver, let's click into this one. I can look at each individual column and see the quality score on each of them. I can also see the data class that we've assigned to those columns, and we've used machine learning to suggest business terms from your glossary that would map to that column. In order to do this, we use, you will want to relate a data class to a business term, and we take that into account, as well as looking at just the definition and name of the term compared to that column and the data class. And then we also, as you start to check yes or no to specific suggestions, that we will learn over time and be able to better suggest business terms that map to the columns. And from here, I can see the rules that we've applied here that have run against it. I can also look at some key indicators of data quality. So we're looking at, I believe these are 11 different violations, and you can actually drill in. Because we did the deep data discovery, I can get this full number, I can click on it, and I can see exactly for each column what percentage. So FIPS, 20% of them are suspect values. That sounds like something that maybe I will want to send a team out to go and remediate. But if this meets our threshold of data that we think is useful, then from here, I can go and publish it to the catalog to make it available to our data consumers who are searching and using this in their project. Any questions about this spot before I change hats again and pretend I'm a data scientist?
I don't see anything here. Why don't you go ahead with your scientist activities?
Okay, so someone had asked about enterprise search. So this is our global search where you can find everything that's in Watson Knowledge Catalog, but even if you had other services on this platform, you would also find it within this global search too. So I'm working on a project as an auto insurance customer, about our auto insurance customers. Sorry, been a long day of talking. All right, so I can search, and you'll notice that we not only surface data assets, but we also surface categories that relate to auto insurance and business terms and connections that might include information about the auto insurance. You can filter based off of tags or who owns it. And even within the search, we split it apart into area, and you can choose where to specifically search through when you use that global search menu. This is also a spot where we use machine learning, and that not only are we looking at the metadata and the information attributes on all of these assets, but we're also looking at your past searches and other people's past searches to try to surface exactly what you need. And I've actually been searching auto insurance for many demos now, and that's why this one has come up so prominently, because it's something that I've been using. That's the project that I had started because I told you I'd already baked a solution. So I'm going to go into the asset that's in the catalog that I think might be helpful. All right. And while it loads, it's on the back end. To remind you, we did have some data protection rules. And so it takes a little bit of time as we're going through and masking all 5 of these columns. So from here, I can, as a data scientist, I can learn a little bit more about the data, understand the business terms that map to it, so I can put it in context of the business, see if it's classified as anything. Honestly, with 5 columns masked, I think it's kind of strange that we don't have PII on it, but let's go look at it and see what's in here. So I can preview the data. I can also go and see that there is a business term associated. This is the person name that I showed you before that the data governance team had set up. And then here we are. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns masked. You have options with masking columns, so you can keep formatting like we have for social security number and email address. You can also X out, but then also there's an option to create a hash value that remains unique. It doesn't keep the formatting, it's not X's, but it does remain unique in case it's like an identifier and you want to use credit card number when you're going and doing your analytics. Okay. Beyond that, I can also look at, so this is not something that data scientists would care about, but for you all who's setting up a catalog, there are 3 different ways to change access to data sets. So the first is through just catalogs in general. You can create a catalog for your marketing team. You can create a catalog for your finance team. And you can set it up to where only marketing sees marketing, only finance sees finance. Beyond that, you can then on each asset level say, mark them as public or private. If it's public, anybody with access to this catalog will be able to see this asset. If it's private, then you list out the exact members or users that you think can actually see this asset. Then there's the third option of using those data protection rules, where you might have a rule that says, if this is PII, then deny access to a certain set of users or something like that. So 3 methods to be a bit more customized in exactly what you surface to your users. Okay, there's also a social collaboration feature where you can see what other people have said about this data and how they've reviewed it. I obviously agreed in a past project that I've done, and it seems like something that will be useful. Profiling uses a similar service as what we have, what I showed you in data quality, but it's really tailored for that business user who is trying to understand the data they're using in order to know how to prep it for an analytics project. So once it loads, because there are 5 columns masked again, it is sometimes a little bit slow. Okay. Here we can see the frequency of all of the different values in each column. It looks like we don't have any duplicates of names. Everybody in the US, which is helpful because my project is going to be US based, and also key metrics about each of them. So I can see about the string, min and max length, but then also mean and standard deviation of these numbers. You'll see at the top the likelihood or how consistently this might match to something like US street name. So it looks like only 89% actually match that. So I might want to, when I prep the data, want to go in and actually see more information about this to better understand what's going on here. Like I said, the data protection rules are applied here as well. So I cannot see email addresses or social security numbers or credit card numbers, which is good because you can't trust me. But then I can also view a little bit of the activity history around this. So when was it added and who added it? How has this changed over time? And then I can even see that someone published this to a project, and this is me actually publishing it to a project on auto insurance. Okay, so as a data scientist, maybe I think this looks good, but maybe there's more. So I can go into the catalog that it came from, and I can search again, auto insurance. And from here I can choose, I might want to add these 3 items into a project. And so I would click add a project and choose a project that I want to put it in. The difference between a catalog and a project is that a catalog is really for sharing data across an entire enterprise, whereas a project is for a smaller team. So you would take data from your catalog and start working within a smaller team of 1 or 5 people on whatever model or data analytics project you might have. And again, I've already kind of baked this up, so we'll go to the project that already exists. Okay, so I'm working on a project on geography analysis, and so trying to understand all the auto insurance policies I have. When it comes time to prep, we do offer a self-service data prep solution within the application. You can as well buy an additional one that is a lot more advanced that you can then integrate with from Watson Knowledge Catalog. But for the purpose of this, I'll show you what we have that comes with the tool as it loads a little bit. All right, let's hope it. My internet wasn't doing too well with this earlier, but here we go. All right, so from here you can use the GUI to prep the data and cleanse it. So you can remove different values, remove duplicates, you can join the table, anything that you might want to do through a SQL statement, you can use the GUI. But then also a really cool thing is that you can visualize the data now before you go and use it in your analytics project. I like to do this in order to understand the data before I then know even what to prep it as. So I really like the example of a tree map, and you can have some insights about what is actually part of this data set. So say I want to look at policy type, and I can see that most policies are personal auto, some are corporate, and then there's a special auto. And so as I'm doing my analysis, I can understand, okay, maybe I can take out the special auto and corporate auto because I'm just looking at our personal auto policy holders or something like that. And then once I'm done building out a view of the data that I like, I can send it into any of our connections. So you can send it back into like Tableau or Cognos, or you can save it within the project, or you can even publish the new flow of the data and the new view of it back into the catalog for other people to use. There we have it. I just showed you 3 different types of personas, all using the same unified experience and leveraging information that we got at each point along the way in order to deliver that business-ready data to your data consumer. So instead of spending 80% of my time finding the data and prepping it, I spent a lot less.
Awesome. And I think the theme of this entire story is if your roommate had this tool, she would have an unbelievably clean closet.
I don't think that this tool works miracles, but
Understood. Understood. So yeah, I think a good point to drive home here is, this is not just a data catalog solution, right? We've incorporated so many features and functions around having a full governance platform. All of these really sharing the same metadata layer, being able to prepare your data, categorize, curate, publish, and really giving self-service back to the business, right? So IT users can leverage this, your data stewards can, your data scientists, and Emma really just touched upon like the tip of the iceberg here. But we have some time, so I'd like to open it up for questions. Brad, do you mind unmuting the line and maybe people could just jump in as they feel fit?
Okay, everyone should be able to speak. I've unmuted the line. Just if you're having trouble getting through, click the raise your hand button and I can patch you right in.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for myself or Emma? No? Okay. One of the questions from Lemming was around, their current information server customers of now, and they're leveraging the tool, and what's really the difference between the two, right? And, my initial thought was, we originally created this for a better user experience for the folks on the business side, right? So your data scientists, your business analysts, giving them access to a easy, intuitive to use UI where they can access that data. I think a lot of the features and functions within information server have been baked into this around preparing that data, right? So how can you profile it? How do you put quality scores around it? So I wouldn't say that they're the same product at all. I'd say they are quite different, but they have a little bit of overlap from a governance perspective as well. I don't know, is there anything else you'd like to add there, Emma?
Yeah, so we have, on information server, we have information governance catalog, and I didn't name them because I didn't know how familiar this group of people would be with it, but we have information governance catalog and we have information analyzer in 11.7.1 in March. And actually, let me go back to my presentation and we can show. So earlier this year, we released Watson Knowledge Catalog it's right here, as an add-on to 11.7.1. So that we can say, okay, we have information analyzer that you use for data quality. We have information governance catalog that you use for data governance and metadata management. And then that's Surface and Watson Knowledge Catalog that you use for searching for the data. We have brought all of that functionality into what I just showed you on Cloud Pak for data, which runs on Red Hat OpenShift, but now in a unified experience. So instead of going in information server, you start out and you click, okay, I want to go to IA, I want to go to IGC, I want to go to WKC. Now it's just all there and it's set by permissions in the experience, which makes it, as I talked to before, you have to have that seamless experience in order to have a successful program for creating your business ready foundation. And so almost all of the functionality from those are now available in Cloud Pak for Data as part of Watson Knowledge Catalog. And all new functionality will be released on Cloud Pak for Data as Red Hat OpenShift is our go-forward infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think the two biggest key points of the new features that a lot of customers are waiting for was that reference data management and the enhanced workflow for governance as well. So we had a question from Thomas Wood. He asked, can you show a term and display all the physical assets related to that term?
Yes.
I don't know if that's in the demo environment, but it'd be great if we could see it.
Yeah, and I did show, and I'm not as familiar with this environment as I wish. I did know that person name. We could see those columns. So if we went to the explore relationships, we can then see that these are the two database columns that are both titled name and they have person name mapped to it. So this is a customers table and then looks like the geo customer table as well. And it also has a data class of person name attached to that table. So you can start to really open up and see exactly what exists that have person name and find it. Because some people might want to start by searching for data from the business term rather than from the search bar or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from anyone in the room? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, we have recorded this session today. What we'll do is we'll send out a link to the recording. So if other members in your organization would like to take a preview of this, feel more than free to pass that along. You know, we're working with a lot of clients around many different use cases around Watson Knowledge Catalog, right? So as this is the platform for governance, we have a lot of customers that are kicking off a data lake project. We have other customers that are really trying to get a handle around CCPA or GDPR. So I challenge you guys really to just get creative and understand other use cases that might be able to be fulfilled by leveraging this tool. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone so much for joining here today. Emma, thank you so much. I think this was a great session. What I'll do is I'll send this out to everyone, and that's it.
It looks like there are a couple more questions actually from
Thomas. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. How do you manage the detected classifications? Exclamation point, exclamation point.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what is meant by that. How do you manage? As in, like, how would you change it? Or how do you create those classifications?
Thomas, if you can hear us, and you could type in there. He said, detecting classifications can be wrong.
Yeah. You can change that. And so that would happen. And this isn't my area, so we're going to learn together. But let's go back to the data quality workspace and let's go auto insurance data analysis. So if we look at the data set and the data class associated with it, we should be able to update it. Let's see. So this has first name. And I believe that you should be able to edit. Here we go, edit. All right, maybe I'm wrong right here, but within the catalog view, you can definitely change. If you have access or you're an owner of an asset, you can say, actually, this is wrong assessment. We need to change the data class. Let's see. And I apologize for not being able to navigate that screen as well.
Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, this is on the fly, so we appreciate this regardless.
Yeah. Let's see. And the other question was about reference data versioning. And today what we support is you can have a simple code value reference data set, relate the values and the whole set to business terms and other governance artifacts. In the future, we'll have a better way of looking at the versions of reference data, mapping values to other reference data set values, as well as creating hierarchies. Okay, so you can change it here, right? City has a 100% match, 23% matches U.S. county, and you can select which one you actually want the data class to be. Then you can actually view all and specifically choose a certain data class.
And I think that's it. And Thomas, what I can do is, you have my contact information. I'll reach out to you. We can have a side conversation around that as well. Okay. All right. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining. It was highly anticipated. We had a great turnout today. I think Emma did an outstanding job. And I will send out the link. And please feel free to follow up with any additional questions. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks.